Emily Carter had lived in small Wyoming towns all her life, but she had never gotten used to big events, loud places, or crowds of strangers brushing against her as if she were invisible. She loved teaching second grade because the classroom was quiet and predictable, and the children listened to her soft voice with interest. But the town's summer fair was a very different world. Every year, the fair brought bright lights, vendors shouting to attract customers, horses neighing, music from the stage, and long lines of people excited for games and food. To most people, it was a fun day. To Emily, it was noisy, overwhelming, and hard to breathe in. Still, she had agreed to volunteer this year because the fair committee needed help with the charity auction. The funds from the auction would go toward repairing the old school library roof, and as a schoolteacher, she cared about that more than anything. She wanted her students to have a safe, dry place to read their books. So she had said yes, even though she knew the fair would be stressful for her. She didn't own any fancy outfits, so her friend Clara had lent her a dress to wear for the auction. It was a deep blue dress with soft fabric that looked beautiful under the sunlight. The problem was that it was slightly too tight around her shoulders, and after wearing it for an hour, it had started to feel even tighter. But she didn't want to complain or appear ungrateful. She simply told herself she would wear it for a few hours and take it off once the event ended. By late afternoon, the fair was at its loudest. Children ran between booths, with sticky fingers from cotton candy. Musicians tuned their guitars on the wooden stage. The auction table was covered with items: handmade quilts, wooden carvings, jars of honey, and a saddle donated by the Branson Ranch. People were walking everywhere, and Emily felt like she had to keep stepping aside so she wouldn't bump into anyone. She carried a clipboard with the bidding sheets and tried to stay calm. But every minute, the dress seemed to squeeze a little harder, and she kept lifting her shoulders to stretch the fabric. She thought maybe she should go backstage and check if something was wrong with the stitching. So when she finished arranging the bidding sheets, she stepped behind the stage, hoping for a quiet moment. Instead, she found a cluttered area full of boxes, wooden planks, and equipment. Someone had been building a new booth and left tools everywhere. Emily took a careful step around the mess, trying not to trip. But just as she passed a stack of boards, the side of her dress caught on something. Before she could react, the dress twisted sharply and pulled her backward. She gasped, losing her balance for a moment. She reached to free it, but her arms were stuck at an awkward angle, and every small movement made the fabric pull tighter. She tried again, but the dress only twisted more, trapping her arms against her ribs. The more she struggled, the more painful it became. Panic rose in her throat. She didn't want to shout. She didn't want people to see her like this. She tried calling out softly, "Hello? Is someone there?" But the music from the stage drowned out her voice. She could feel her heartbeat speeding up. Her breath became shorter. The tight fabric made her chest feel squeezed. She had always been sensitive to the feeling of being trapped, and now her mind was racing. She tugged once more, and the stitch near her shoulder snapped, tightening another part of the dress. She felt dizzy. At the same time, on the other side of the fairground, Jack Branson arrived to check the saddle he had donated. Jack was a quiet cowboy, more comfortable with horses than with large crowds. He was tall, with a calm face and steady hands that were used to fixing ropes, fences, and tools. People respected him because he was reliable. If something broke, Jack could repair it. If someone needed help, Jack showed up without being asked. As he walked past the stage, he noticed someone move behind it. He thought it was just another volunteer, until he heard a soft, strained voice. It wasn't loud, but something in the tone made him stop. He paused, listening carefully. Then he heard it again, a small sound, almost like someone trying not to cry. Jack stepped around the wagon and approached the cluttered area behind the stage. That was when he saw her. Emily. pressed against the wooden boards, her shoulders twisted, her arms pinned by the tangled dress. Her face was pale, her breathing shallow. "Ma'am?" he said gently. Emily looked up at him, embarrassed but relieved. "Yes. I can't get free." He moved closer, careful not to startle her. "It's all right. You're okay. Let me see what happened." Emily swallowed hard. Her voice shook as she whispered, "Take it off. Please. I can't move. I can't breathe." She didn't mean anything dramatic, she simply wanted the dress removed before it cut into her any further. Jack nodded calmly. "I understand. You're hurt. I'm going to help you. I promise." He guided her behind the wagon, shielding her from the crowd's view. Emily was trembling. She tried not to cry, but fear made her eyes sting. He examined the dress and saw that the fabric was wrapped tightly around a rusty nail. If he tried to pull it, it might tear worse or injure her skin. "Hold still," he said softly. The nail twisted the fabric. "I'll try to unhook it first." He gently pressed the fabric, trying to loosen it. Emily winced as the fabric tightened across her chest. Jack stopped immediately. "I'm not going to hurt you. Let me try something else." She nodded, trusting him even though they barely knew each other. Jack took out his pocket knife, something cowboys always carried. "I'm going to cut only the part that's stuck. Just that part. You'll still have most of your dress. All right?" Emily nodded again, though her breathing was shaky. He slid the blade carefully under the trapped fabric. His movements were slow, steady, respectful. He made sure his hands never touched her in a way that would make her uncomfortable. He only cut where the fabric was caught. When the fabric loosened, Emily gasped in relief. Her knees weakened. Jack quickly steadied her by placing a gentle hand on her back. She leaned forward, her forehead dropping toward his shoulder as she caught her breath. "It's okay," Jack murmured. "You're all right now." Emily felt overwhelmed. A tear escaped before she could stop it. She wasn't crying because of pain, she was crying because the fear had been too strong a moment earlier. Jack remembered what he used to do for his younger sister whenever she had panic attacks. Without thinking, moved by instinct, he leaned slightly forward and gave Emily a soft, comforting kiss on the side of her neck, the same way he used to soothe his sister when she was frightened. It was not romantic, not bold, not inappropriate. It was simply gentle and warm. A human gesture meant to calm someone who felt trapped moments ago. Emily stiffened for a second in surprise, then relaxed. Her breathing slowly steadied. She closed her eyes, letting the warmth of the moment settle her nerves. For the first time that day, she felt safe. Jack realized what he had done and stepped back respectfully, giving her space. "Sorry," he said softly. "I shouldn't have. I just wanted to calm you down. My sister used to—" Emily shook her head. "No, it helped. Thank you." He didn't know what else to say, so he simply offered his jacket. She wrapped it around herself, grateful for the kindness and the shield from the crowd. The fair continued loudly behind them. But in that small, quiet space, Emily felt the world slow down. She didn't feel trapped anymore. She felt seen. And as she walked out with Jack beside her, she wondered why, out of everyone at the fair, he had been the one to stop, listen, and help. The next morning, Emily woke up with the sunlight warming her small bedroom. For a moment she lay still, letting the silence calm her. Her nerves felt steadier than they had in a long time, but she wasn't fully relaxed. The memory of the night before returned slowly, her dress getting trapped, the panic, the fear of being seen, and Jack stepping in with calm strength that felt like a warm blanket around her. She sat up and breathed deeply. She kept replaying the scene where she had whispered for help, her voice small and scared. She remembered how Jack didn't laugh, didn't judge, didn't hesitate. He simply helped. Quietly and respectfully. Not many people in her life treated her with that kind of care. Most people were too busy to notice when she struggled. But Jack had noticed. He had listened. That alone made her chest feel warm. Then she remembered the small, gentle kiss he placed on her neck to calm her, a comforting motion, not romantic or bold, but something soft and natural, like a gesture from someone who cared deeply about easing her fear. She had never experienced anything like it. It wasn't the kiss that mattered. It was the intention behind it. It made her feel human, not foolish or weak. By noon, Emily decided she couldn't just pretend nothing happened. She wanted to thank Jack in a proper way. Words alone felt too small. So she made a pie, her grandmother's old recipe, the one she baked only for special occasions. It always meant gratitude and respect. She wrapped the warm pie carefully in a towel, got dressed in simple clothes, and stepped outside. The day was bright and windy, and the road to the Branson Ranch stretched far across fields filled with horses grazing peacefully. Emily took her time walking, letting the air clear the last traces of yesterday's panic. Jack was outside repairing a fence when he saw her approaching. He paused, wiping his hands on a rag. He didn't expect her to come. To him, yesterday had been a moment where he simply did what anyone with sense and kindness should do: help someone who needed help. But seeing her there made his heart beat a little faster. Not from romance, but from surprise and a strange sense of responsibility. "Morning, Miss Carter," he said with a gentle nod. Emily gave a shy smile. "Good morning, Jack. I brought something for you." She held out the pie. He stared at it, confused at first, then touched. You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to," she replied softly. "For yesterday. You saved me from a very embarrassing and painful moment." Jack shook his head. "You would have been fine. I just helped a little." Emily met his eyes. "Jack, I couldn't breathe. I was scared. And you were the only one who noticed. That means something." He didn't know what to say to that. Compliments always made him uncomfortable. So he looked at the pie again and murmured, "Well, thank you. It looks real good." Emily laughed quietly. "I hope so. It's the one thing I can bake without ruining." Jack gestured for her to sit on a nearby wooden bench. He placed the pie on a small table and poured her a cup of cool water. They sat together under the shade of a large cottonwood tree. For a long moment, neither spoke. It wasn't awkward. It was peaceful. Emily finally broke the silence. "I should explain something. Yesterday I panicked so fast because I have trouble with tight spaces. I've been like that since I was a child. If something traps my arms or chest, my mind, it just shuts down." Jack nodded slowly, understanding. "My sister was the same. She'd freeze up if someone hugged her too tight. That's why I knew that look on your face." Emily looked at him curiously. Is that why you kissed my neck? To calm me?" Jack's face warmed slightly. "Yeah. When my sister panicked, I used to do that. She said it made her feel safe. I wasn't thinking too much last night. I just wanted you to feel like someone was there for you." Emily smiled gently. "It helped more than you know." Jack looked relieved. "I worried afterward that it might have made you uncomfortable." "It didn't," she said softly. "It felt kind." They talked for a while about small things, simple things. Emily told him about her students and how some of them were shy like she was. Jack told her about his horses, especially an older mare he'd raised since she was born. As they spoke, they realized how easy it was to talk to each other without pretending. Emily didn't feel the need to hide her nervous habits. Jack didn't feel pressure to act tougher than he was. After some time, Jack stood and picked up a small wooden box from the porch. He brought it back and placed it on the table. "I fixed the dress this morning," he said. Emily blinked in surprise. "You what? How?" He shrugged with modesty. "I sew a lot. Ranch gear rips all the time." Emily opened the box and saw the dress neatly folded, repaired with steady, even threads. If she didn't know better, she would have thought it had never been damaged. "It's perfect," she whispered. Jack rubbed the back of his neck. "I figured you might want it back." Without any reminder of yesterday. Emily's eyes softened. "Jack, I didn't want to forget yesterday. I just wanted to survive it. But you turned something frightening into something I can look back on without shame." He didn't know how to respond, so he simply nodded. They spent the next hour walking around the ranch. Jack showed her the barn and introduced her to a gentle horse named Dusty. Emily hesitated at first, but Jack placed a calm hand on the horse's neck and encouraged her. Dusty lowered his head toward Emily, sensing her softness. She laughed, surprised at how warm the animal felt. For the first time in a long while, Emily experienced something new without fear. Jack watched her with quiet admiration, not romantic, but thoughtful. He noticed how she touched the horse's mane with careful fingers, how she smiled with her eyes more than her lips. There was something peaceful about her presence, something he hadn't realized he needed. As the afternoon stretched on, they helped each other with small tasks. Emily held the gate while Jack carried tools. Jack fetched fresh hay, while Emily swept a small section of the walkway. Every moment felt natural, not forced. By evening, they walked back toward the town together. The sky was golden, the sun sinking behind the hills. Emily carried her dress in the box, and Jack carried the empty pie dish, wrapped in a towel. When they reached the edge of the fairgrounds, the place already looked different. Workers were taking down booths, collecting trash, and packing equipment. It was far quieter than the night before. Emily paused, looking at the same stage where she had felt trapped. She took a breath and surprised herself by stepping closer. Jack stayed beside her without saying a word. "I'm not scared of it anymore," she said quietly. "Not after today." Jack nodded. "You handled more than you think." Emily turned to him, her voice sincere. "I didn't do it alone. You made me feel safe." He looked at her with a warm, steady expression. "I'm glad I could." Weeks passed after that day, and their friendship grew naturally. They met for simple walks, shared stories, and found comfort in each other's presence. Emily began smiling more often. Jack became more talkative, especially when she asked about things he loved. People in town noticed the quiet connection forming between them, but neither of them rushed anything. The story ends with them attending the next fair together, Emily wearing the dress he repaired, Jack offering her his arm with a shy smile. They walked into the crowd side by side, not afraid of anything, because little by little, they had helped each other find courage in places they never expected.